Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Once more the gift is here. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Welcome to Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Kiya Heartwood. I am the assistant minister here. We're really glad you came, and make sure and sign up for our newsletter at our website, which is at www.liveoakuu.org. There, if you get in the newsletter, you can go to the What's Happening page, and there are things happening throughout the week. I want to encourage you to approach this Sunday and all the Sundays really with curiosity and with an understanding that there are many different ways to approach the pandemic, and there are many different ways to work for social change. For me, writing is my spiritual practice. I've been doing it since I was a little kid, and I learn a lot about myself. It's meditative, and it turns out to be pretty good for social change as well. There are many ways to help. And just because you can't get out on the street and protest doesn't mean that you're not valuable and that your input's not valuable and your change is not valuable. And we'll have our chalice lighting now. Thank you.
like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where his feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God recreation of the new day. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word.
Good morning. My name is Carrie Krause. I'm the Director of Lifespan Faith Development at Live Oak UU Church. I'm so glad you could join us this morning. Our big idea today is a book called Finding Wild by Megan Wagner Lloyd. What is wild? And where can you find it? Wild is tiny and fragile and sweet baby new. It pushes through cracks and crannies and steals back forgotten places. Sometimes wild is so tricky you have to squint to see it. And then there are times you can't possibly miss it. Wild creeps and crawls and slithers. It leaps and pounces and shows its teeth. Wild is full of smells, fresh mint, ancient cave, sun-baked desert, sharp pine, salt sea, every scent begging you to drink it in. Wild is forest fire hot and icicle cold. It's as smooth as the petals of poppies and as rough as the fierce face of a mountain. Wild can hurt. But wild can also soothe. Gentle breeze, cheering sun, soft rain. Wild keeps many secrets waiting to be discovered, like it's candy, honey from bees and sap from trees, swift melting snowflakes and juice bursting blackberries. Wild roars and barks and hisses and brays. Its storm thunders and wind whispers. Wild sings. Sometimes wild is buried too deep, and it seems like the whole world is clean and paved, ordered and tidy. You look and you look, and all you can see are streets and cars and buildings so high they hide the sky. And then, just when you are about to give up, there it is again, old and worn and still standing strong. Wild. And that's this morning's big idea.
You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things.
Hello. Today we're going to talk about Mary Oliver. Now, why are we talking about Mary Oliver? Mary Oliver is a poet. She's a Unitarian Universalist poet, and she's in the tradition of that Walt Whitman and Henry David Thoreau are in that I would consider her work transcendentalist. It's very spiritual. Many ministers and worship leaders at UU churches around the world are using Mary Oliver poems in their regular services. She's very approachable language-wise, and she's very approachable theologically for us. She writes a lot from nature and from the inside of nature, and not on top of it in a Western civilization kind of way. She's not looking down at nature as something for her to use. She's looking at herself as part of this great web of existence. And that's a beautiful thing. Mary Oliver was born on September 10th in 1935 in Ohio. Her father was a coach and athletic person. She spent most of her life with her partner Molly Malone Cook. Molly was a photographer. She died in 2005, so they spent about 40 years together as a couple. Now, the great thing about Cape Cod is it's wild. It's much wilder than I thought it would be. I'd been touring on the East Coast for quite a while and to Cape Cod and stayed in a cabin in Eastham, which is kind of in the middle of Cape Cod. And the house had a skylight over the bed. So I woke up in the morning, and there in the skylight was a raccoon splayed out. And things like that happened all the time. There were coyotes, there were all kinds of creatures, and it felt wild, especially when it got dark. A great place if you're a person who loves being immersed in nature. And she's a great walker, and Cape Cod is full of trails. She could walk around, and you have a combination of marshes and the ocean, ancient villages, as well as woods. Walk there. She didn't finish college. She took classes at Ohio State, and she took classes at Vassar. She's won many awards, including the Pulitzer Prize in the 80s for her book American Primitive, and a National Book Award in the 90s. She died in January of 2019. She had moved to Florida after Molly died, and that's where she passed away. Why poetry and why writing? What are you talking about poetry and writing when the world is falling apart? And everybody needs a spiritual practice. Maybe your spiritual practice is going out on the street and demonstrating. Maybe your spiritual practice is more meditation and self-reflection, and writing can be a form of that. It's cheaper than therapy, I like to say. It's been my spiritual practice since I was a teenager. Mary started writing poems when she was 14. She also did some of her education was working as a secretary for the sister of Edna St. Vincent Millay, going through Edna St. Vincent Millay's papers after she died and organizing them. And I think that was a very good education for a poet. Poetry is like distilling language, taking things down to its essence, to its core, so that you're looking at things actual and you're also looking at the concepts behind it. Metaphors are rampant in poetry. And sometimes the more specific you are, the more spiritual it is. And that Mary Oliver's poetry is a really great example of that. I'm going to read you a poem that she wrote during the time that Molly was ill. She wrote this poem called Letter from Home. She sends me news of blue jays, frost, of stars, and now the harvest moon that rides above the stricken hills. Lightly she speaks of cold, of pain, and lists what is already lost. Here, where my life seems hard and slow, I read of glowing melons piled beside the door, and baskets filled with fennel, rosemary, and dill, while all she could not gather in or hid in leaves grow black and falls. Here where my life seems hard and strange, I read her wild excitement when stars climb, frost comes, and blue jays sing. The broken year will make no change upon her wild and whirling heart. She knows how people always plan to live their lives and never do. She will not tell me if she cries. I touch the crosses by her name. I fold the pages as I rise and tip the envelope from which drip scraps of borage, woodbine, rue. Beautiful poem by Mary Oliver. It's got life in it. I think one of the most challenging things about the pandemic is how it slowed us down. I don't know if you're having big realizations, maybe more vivid dreams, but there's definitely something about that, and having a focus where you're going for a walk and you're noticing, you're paying attention, that seems to be a good thing to do right now. Mary Oliver wrote, "When it is over, I want to say all my life, I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms." Writing as a spiritual practice is a way to pay attention. It doesn't matter if you think you're talented at it or not. The fact is, the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the more you are a good vessel for whatever writing might want to come through you. I don't know what it is that when we're a kid and we're learning to play basketball, we'll shoot hoops and we'll miss and we'll miss and we'll miss. And eventually we start making them. You can get accurate at. You can get where you pay attention. And that is a very good goal for any spiritual practice. You don't even have to write. All it is a choice. It's just a choice thing. It's like making a collage in art, where you're going to just read some poetry, maybe go to www.poets.org, or a place like that where there's thousands and thousands of poets and poems, and just read some poetry. And whenever you see a line that you particularly like, write it down. And then you take all the lines you like and try to make a poem out of those lines. You don't have to put them in quotations or whatever. You're using other lines, but the way you put them together, that's the creative part. And that's called a cento. Mary Oliver wrote a book about form poetry called The Rules of the Dance. And so if you want to try even more difficult forms like a villanelle or a sonnet or different kinds of sonnets and all these different form poems. So I hope you try some writing as well as enjoy listening to Mary Oliver's poetry. Check her out. There's a lot of books.
sense of what we find, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a joy being together, and in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer.
Thanks for attending our service today. We will have a coffee hour, a virtual coffee hour, a virtual hangout. If you need the link to that, you just go to the website for the church, which is www.liveoakuu.org, and click on the fellowship hour, coffee hour. I want to sing you a benediction by Abby Spinner. Remember the way of the wind, and breathe and blow. Remember the way of the fire, sparkle and glitter and glow. Remember the way of the water, and ebb and flow. Remember the way of the earth, and grow. Go in peace. Think you can tell? Did they get you to trade heroes for ghosts, hot ashes for trees, hot air for a cool breeze, old comfort for change? Did you exchange? Walk on park